My whole family, all 19 of them, booked flights, reserved hotel suites, and drove rental cars across 4 states to watch my sister cut a ribbon on her new bakery in Portland, Oregon. Champagne, a live band, a custom cake with her face on it. 4 weeks later, not one of them showed up to my wedding in Nashville, Tennessee, 40 minutes from where half of them lived. It's just not a good time, my Aunt Carol said. We're stretched thin right now, my Uncle Ray added. My sister Vanessa sent a voice note with background music playing. Aw, I'm sure it'll be beautiful. Send me pictures. 31 days after that, my phone exploded. Non-stop calls, texts, emails, and messages from every single person who had been too busy to make a 40-minute drive. They had just found out who my husband actually was, and suddenly, Nashville wasn't so far away after all. But here's what none of them understood. The distance was never the problem. They were. Before we go any further, if you've ever felt overlooked or pushed aside by your own family, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us we're not alone. And I'd really love to know where you're watching from tonight, so drop your city and country in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how many people from around the world connect with stories like this. My name is Reyna Castillo Walsh. I'm 33 years old, and this is the story of how I lost a family I never truly had and built something real from the wreckage they left behind. Let me take you back to where it started. Not the wedding, not the phone calls, not the moment everything unraveled in a ballroom full of strangers. It started with a trophy on a shelf. The Castillo family lived in a brick ranch house on the east side of Franklin, Tennessee. My mother, Gloria, ran a small alterations and tailoring shop out of a strip mall on Highway 96. My father, Eduardo, drove a concrete truck 6 days a week. He was quiet, sun-browned, and tired in the permanent way of men who spend their lives lifting things other people designed. Then there was Vanessa, 2 years younger, louder, shinier, magnetic in the way certain people just are. The kind of girl who made friends in checkout lines and got free dessert at every restaurant she ever walked into. And then there was me, Reyna, the older one, the quiet one, the one who got straight A's and spent summers reorganizing the shop's inventory system for fun. I was 12 when I won the regional science fair with a water filtration model I'd built from scratch using PVC pipe, gravel, sand, and activated charcoal. 3 months of work. When they called my name for first place, I looked out into the folding chair audience for my mother's face. She wasn't there. She was at my sister's dance recital, 20 miles away. My homeroom teacher, Mr. Ofaker, drove me home that evening. I walked in carrying a red ribbon and a plastic trophy, and my mother looked up from hemming a dress and said, "Oh, baby, I'm sorry. You know how Vanessa's recital is only once a year." I said yes. I always said yes. The trophy sat on my dresser for 2 weeks before I moved it to my closet. My mother never asked about it again. But Vanessa's dance photo, T2, pointed toes, arms overhead, got a frame and a spot on the living room mantel where it stayed for the next decade. That was the pattern. I didn't have a name for it then. I just knew there was a shelf for Vanessa's things and a closet for mine. I knew that some achievements got a frame and some got a trash bag. And I knew, in the wordless way children understand things long before they can articulate them, that I was loved, but I was not prioritized. And in a family like ours, those two things were not the same. At 23, I moved to Nashville to work as a junior researcher at an environmental consulting firm. Biology degree from University of Tennessee, enough student loan debt to make me slightly nauseous every first of the month, one-bedroom apartment in Germantown, a 10-year-old Subaru with a cracked dashboard. Nobody in my family asked much about the work. My mother called it Reyna's little nature job. My Aunt Carol called it that environmentalist thing. My Uncle Ray suggested I look into becoming a nurse instead. I smiled. I passed the rolls. I refilled my own water glass because the pitcher was always closer to Vanessa's end of the table. I met Marcus at a conference in Atlanta on sustainable land development. He was presenting a panel on impact investing. I was in the third row taking careful notes. After the panel, he came and sat beside me, asked what I'd thought of the third presenter's carbon offset methodology. I told him the math was creative, but the assumptions were soft. He laughed, surprised, genuine. He bought me a sparkling water. We talked for 2 hours. He gave me a card, no title, just his name and a personal email. Marcus Webb. We emailed for 2 months before our first dinner. He drove up from Birmingham, where he said he worked out of. I pictured a modest office above a coffee shop. I was wrong about the scale by a significant margin. It was Deb, my college roommate, now a litigation paralegal in Memphis, who figured it out first. She held her laptop up to the camera on our video call. Forbes magazine. Marcus Webb, founder of WebBridge Capital, a climate-focused venture fund with over $1.5 billion in managed assets. Congressional Advisory Committee, 3 national profiles. I sat very still. When I brought it up on our next call, Marcus explained without apologizing. He watched money change my family when I was a kid. I needed to know, before I let anyone close, that they wanted me, not the number beside my name. I understood completely. I kept his secret too. Not for him, for me. Because I had spent enough of my life watching people be valued for the wrong reasons. Deb warned me, if your family ever figures this out, they'll act like they were in your corner the whole time. I told her she was being cynical. She told her she was being accurate. Marcus proposed on a Sunday morning at Radnor Lake, just outside Nashville. Trail overlook, small box, no speech. The ring was an emerald-cut diamond set in brushed yellow gold. Simple, extraordinary to anyone who knew what they were looking at. I said yes before he finished the sentence. That evening, I posted to the family group chat. Our hands together, the ring visible, the lake soft behind us. I typed, he asked, I said yes. My mother responded 11 minutes later. That's wonderful, honey. Then immediately, did everyone see the article about the bakery in the Franklin Review? So proud. That was my engagement announcement in the Castillo family. When Vanessa got engaged 2 years earlier, my mother organized a surprise party for 30 people, posted on Facebook 7 times in a single weekend. I liked every single post. For me, that's wonderful, honey, and a pivot to a newspaper article about sourdough. Vanessa's grand opening of Nessa's Table in Portland happened in mid-February. Boutique bakery, exposed brick, custom tile work. The family turned out completely. My mother flew from Nashville, Aunt Carol and Uncle Ray flew together. 3 cousins came, my father's brothers drove from Georgia. 19 people total for a ribbon-cutting ceremony, catered reception, and a live acoustic guitarist my mother had hired as a surprise. I flew out too, paid for my own flight, my own Airbnb 3 blocks away, stood near the back during the ribbon cutting, clapping when everyone clapped. Marcus came with me. He wore a dark green sweater and was warm and genuine with everyone. Nobody asked him a single question, except my cousin Derek, who said, "So you're in finance or something?" Marcus said yes. Derek said, "Cool," and turned back to the cheese board. My mother floated through the room the entire evening like a woman arriving at her final destination. Near the dessert table, I heard her tell Aunt Carol the whole event had cost close to $30,000. Nothing but the best for my Nessa, she said. I thought about the wedding invitations sitting unanswered on 19 kitchen counters, and I clapped when the ribbon fell. I sent invitations 8 weeks before our wedding. Marcus and I had chosen Clearwater Farm, a restored barn venue 40 minutes south of Nashville in Williamson County. Ceremony under a canopy of oak trees, reception in the barn with string lights and wildflowers. April in Tennessee. Beautiful, simple, and intentionally close to home. 6 weeks passed. No RSVPs. I started calling. My mother said she'd check with everyone. Aunt Carol said the drive was longer than it looked on Google Maps. Uncle Ray said April was complicated. Then the RSVPs trickled back. Decline, decline, decline. Every single one. Aunt Carol, or just so worn out from the Portland trip, sweetheart, you understand. She had flown 5 hours to Oregon for a bakery opening. Nashville was 40 minutes. Uncle Ray, things are just hectic right now. He had taken a week off work for Portland. My wedding was a Saturday. Vanessa, I've got so much going on with the bakery, Reyna. Send me pictures, though. You're going to look gorgeous. She had just returned from a 4-day wellness retreat in Sedona. My father texted, "We'll see, mija." He didn't come. 5 days before the wedding, my mother called. I recorded it. Tennessee is one-party consent, and Deb had told me months ago to start documenting. I didn't know why exactly. I just trusted her. "Honey," my mother said, her voice dipped in that particular sweetness she used before saying something sharp. "It's just a small farm thing, right? It's not like Vanessa's opening. That was a real event. Don't take it personally." I held the phone away from my face and looked at the printed wedding program on my desk. Reyna and Marcus, Clearwater Farm, April 12th. I didn't cry. I opened my laptop, screenshotted every text, every RSVP card, every voicemail transcript, saved them in a folder on Google Drive, and named it exactly what Deb had suggested. Evidence. Not for revenge, she had said, for clarity. I didn't know yet how clear things were about to get. Clearwater Farm was everything I had hoped for. The oak canopy was in full spring bloom, the arbor wrapped in white ranunculus and trailing ivy. 80 chairs, 40 on each side. Marcus's side filled completely. His mother, Constance, a retired federal judge, sat front row in a dove-gray dress. His business partner flew from Seattle. His college friends, his mentor, his brother from Atlanta. 40 chairs, 40 people. My side had Deb, 3 work colleagues, 2 neighbors from my apartment building, and June, my running partner, who showed up with wildflowers cut from her own garden that morning. 6 people, 34 empty chairs. The venue coordinator asked if I wanted to consolidate the seating, angle the chairs so the emptiness wasn't so visible. I looked at those 34 chairs in the April light. I said, "Leave them. I want to remember what this looks like." Marcus found me behind the barn 10 minutes before the ceremony. He took both my hands. Their absence is a reflection of who they are, not who you are, not ever. Constance read something during the ceremony about choosing your people and the grace of being chosen back. I cried, not from sadness, but from the sharp, sudden clarity that I had spent 33 years measuring my worth by the attendance of people who were never really watching me at all. After the ceremony, while our small group of guests drank wine under the oaks, Deb pulled me aside. She had her phone out. My mother had posted to Facebook that afternoon a photo of herself and Vanessa at a brunch spot in Franklin. Mimosas, fresh flowers on the table, caption, "Girls' Day with my favorite girl, so blessed." Same afternoon, 40 minutes away. Eggs Benedict instead of her eldest daughter's wedding. I took a screenshot and added it to the folder. 3 days later, the family group chat spoke. Vanessa first. "So how was the little farm wedding? Did you do the rustic aesthetic? I want to see pictures." My mother, "I'm sure it was absolutely lovely. Send pictures when you get a chance, baby." No mention of not coming, no acknowledgement at all. Aunt Carol posted a selfie from a brunch spot in Brentwood. The same weekend as my wedding, she had been 30 minutes from Clearwater all day. Caption, "Sundays are for rest and gratitude." I read every message, didn't respond to any of them, screenshotted each one, slowly, carefully, the way you photograph evidence at a scene. Then I called Deb. "I'm done hoping," I said. "Then stop and start watching." 3 weeks after my wedding, the first crack appeared. Marcus's fund, WebBridge Capital, had received an incoming pitch from a small Nashville-based development group. The lead partner was a man named Derek Castillo, my cousin, Derek. He had quietly pivoted from a mid-level telecom sales job into sustainable hospitality development. He had a nice logo, a slick pitch deck, and absolutely no track record in real estate. Marcus told me over dinner. My acquisitions team pulled the deck. Serious problems. The environmental impact study is incomplete, the construction budget is underestimated by at least 30%, and the revenue projections assume occupancy rates no boutique hotel in East Nashville has ever achieved. He paused. The team was going to pass before any of this. The numbers simply don't work. Meanwhile, my mother's alteration shop was bleeding. She had expanded 2 years earlier into a second Brentwood location. The lease was expensive, foot traffic never materialized. She needed around $150,000 to cover the renewal and pay down a supplier balance she'd let slide for 8 months. Two banks had declined her. I knew this because my father had called me, not to apologize for the wedding, not even to mention it, but to ask if I knew anyone who did small business financing. I said I'd think about it. I thought about a lot of things. 2 years earlier, sitting at a family dinner in my usual chair nearest the kitchen, I had offered to help my mother. A full digital strategy proposal, e-commerce, brand refresh, social integration. I had spent 2 weekends building it, for free. My mother had looked at the proposal, smiled, and said, "Stick to your little science reports, Miha. Retail is a different world." That different world was now closing in on her. It was Derek who figured it out first. He was doing background research before following up on his web bridge pitch and Googled Marcus Webb to find leverage. The Inc. magazine profile loaded first. A photo of Marcus at a green infrastructure conference. Calm, direct gaze, slight smile. The same face Derek had seen at a brunch table in Portland, nodding politely while Derek talked about fantasy football. Derek texted Vanessa. Vanessa called my mother. My mother called Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol called Uncle Ray. The whole chain in under an hour. I know because Deb's mutual contact narrated the entire thing over text. What struck me most was what nobody said in that chain. Not one person. Not one person said, "We should have been at her wedding." Not one. The first words out of my mother's mouth, according to Vanessa, were, "Don't say anything stupid. Be warm. Act like nothing happened." After 33 years of being invisible, the family instruction wasn't apologize, it was perform. Day 31 was a Sunday morning. I woke to my phone vibrating like something trapped. 39 missed calls, 62 texts, 17 voicemails, emails, Facebook messages. Every name I hadn't seen on my screen in over a month. My mother, 9 calls. "Maya baby, call me back. I miss you. Bring Marcus for lunch. I'd love to get to know him properly." Vanessa, 6 texts. "Oh my God, Reyna, why didn't you tell me? We need to get together. This is so exciting." Derek, 1 email, subject line, touching base, business opportunity. Aunt Carol, "We feel terrible about missing the wedding. When can we visit?" Uncle Ray, "Reyna, call me when you get a chance." He had been thinking of a different script. My father sent a single text. "I should have been there. I'm sorry, Reyna." He was the only one who mentioned the wedding. But the timing, 31 days later, same week the profile was circulating, made even his apology feel like arithmetic. Marcus was sitting beside me, reading over my shoulder. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." I set the phone face down. 40 minutes had been too far for my wedding. A text to a climate fund CEO's wife was apparently no distance at all. I didn't answer a single one. My mother showed up at my apartment door on a Wednesday morning. Gift bag from a home goods store, blazer fresh as pressed, hair blown out. A woman who had prepared for an audition. "Miha," she pulled me into a hug. Big, warm, designed for an audience. "I've missed you so much." She walked in without being invited. Her eyes moved quickly, the IKEA shelves, the work desk covered with research files. Her gaze paused briefly on the large canvas above the couch, then moved on. She didn't know it was a wedding gift from Constance. Didn't know it was painted by a Nashville artist whose work sold for more than my old annual salary. She walked right past it. She set the gift bag on the counter and pivoted. "So Marcus works in sustainable finance. We'd love to have you both for dinner, just family." I let the silence sit. "Dinner?" I said. "As family? The family that didn't come to my wedding?" "Let's not dwell on all that." She waved her hand like brushing crumbs off a tablecloth. "We want to move forward." "Mom," I stepped toward her. "You didn't come here because you missed me. You came because you Googled my husband." The smile cracked. 1 second. I saw the flash of irritation she reserved for people who questioned her. That's not fair. I'm your mother. Then act like one. I held the door open. She stood there for 4 full seconds. Then she picked up her gift bag and left. Through the window, I watched her get into her car. In the passenger seat, waiting, Vanessa. They had come together. They had planned this. When warmth failed, the pressure campaign began. Vanessa, you're being really cold. Is this because of the wedding? You're holding a grudge over a scheduling conflict? Derek, by email, CCing 3 strangers, I'd love to set up a brief call to discuss a mutually beneficial opportunity with Marcus. Aunt Carol, your mother is heartbroken. You're being unfair. My father texted, please just call her. She's upset. He had apologized for not coming. Now he was asking me to comfort the person who had orchestrated it. I blocked 6 numbers. They called from new ones. I blocked those too. Marcus offered to make 1 call, 1 sentence, and it would all stop. No, I told him, if you fight this for me, they'll never respect me. They'll just fear you. That's not what I want. He nodded. He made dinner instead. They thought I was being difficult. I was being deliberate. The voicemail came at 10:47 on a Tuesday night. My mother's voice, soft, fractured at the edges. Reyna, I know I haven't always done right by you. I know I've made mistakes, but I'm your mother. Don't shut me out. Please, I'm begging you, mija. I played it twice. My chest ached. She sounded real. She sounded broken. I almost called her back. Then I called Deb instead. She sounds like she means it, I said. Open the folder, Deb said. Read what she sent before the wedding. I opened the laptop. Blue light filled the dark room. I clicked to a screenshot, a text my mother had sent Vanessa 2 weeks before my wedding, which Vanessa had accidentally forwarded to an aunt's group thread, which eventually made its way to Deb. Don't make a big deal about Reyna's farm thing. It's a small ceremony. She'll be fine. She always is. Focus on the bakery launch prep. That was the message. That was why nobody came. Not schedules, not exhaustion, not distance. My mother had quietly, deliberately told 19 people that my wedding wasn't worth their time. I closed the laptop, wiped my face. I sat in the dark for a long time after that, not crying, just sitting with the truth of it. The way sometimes the clearest moments are also the most painful ones because you can't unfeel them once they land. I thought about the last time I'd heard my mother cry before this, 2 years ago, when the bank declined her expansion loan and she needed my father to co-sign. She had cried about that too, long, soft tears on the phone with my aunt. I had heard it secondhand and felt sorry for her. She hadn't been crying because she'd hurt someone. She was crying because she needed something. The pattern had always been there. I had just kept choosing not to see it, because seeing it meant accepting that the mother I had been waiting for was never coming. I sat at my kitchen table the following Saturday with Deb on my left and Marcus on my right and a legal pad in front of me. I'm not trying to burn everything down, I said, and I meant it. But I'm done being a door they only knock on when they need something. Marcus leaned back. Derek resubmitted his pitch last week with a personal note addressed to me. He mentioned directly that his cousin was my wife and hoped that would be considered. He paused. It made things worse, not better. It confirmed he was banking on a back channel rather than fixing the actual problems. The team is passing. The deal dies on its own merits. Deb slid a folder across the table. Printed screenshots, scanned RSVPs, a side-by-side chart. Distances from each family member's home to Portland for Vanessa's opening versus distances to my wedding venue in Williamson County. Not a weapon, she said. A mirror. There was one more thing. In 3 weeks, the Tennessee Green Economy Summit, an annual event Marcus helped host, was being held at a downtown Nashville hotel. Marcus was giving the keynote. 400 attendees, press, investors. If my family found out he was keynoting 20 minutes from their houses, they would find a way into that room. I was counting on it. The rejection letter reached Derek's inbox on a Monday, WebBridge Capital letterhead, signed by the Director of Investment Strategy, not Marcus, which was standard procedure. The CEO never signed deal rejections. Derek didn't know that. 3 paragraphs, professional, final. The project did not meet WebBridge's criteria: incomplete environmental assessment, unrealistic revenue projections, unacceptable capital structure risk. Derek called Vanessa. Vanessa called my mother. Within 24 hours, the family had landed on one conclusion: Reyna needed to be reasoned with. Nobody called to apologize for the wedding. They called because they needed something and were confused that I wasn't providing it. Meanwhile, my mother bought a ticket to the Green Economy Summit, $250. My father bought 2 more for himself and Aunt Carol, $750 to be in the same room of the son-in-law they had never once bothered to meet, $750 to fix what a 40-minute drive would have prevented. The math of it sat in my stomach like a stone. The night before the summit, I stood in the bedroom of our East Nashville bungalow and tried on the dress Marcus and Constance had helped me choose. Midnight blue, simple cut, the kind of dress that doesn't announce itself. I looked in the mirror for a long time. I saw 33 years of making myself smaller and quieter and more convenient, hoping one day it would register. The girl at the back of the bakery opening, the girl whose trophy went into the closet, the girl with 34 empty chairs on her wedding day. Then I saw something else. I saw the woman who had documented everything, who had stayed steady when the pressure came, who had not flinched once. Marcus came to the doorway. "You don't have to say anything tomorrow," he said. "Yes, I do," I said. "Not for me, for the 12-year-old girl who carried her science trophy home in her teacher's car." Deb arrived with the folder, organized, tabbed, and closed in a clean black binder. I picked it up, lighter than I expected for everything it held. The Tennessee Green Economy Summit filled the grand ballroom of a downtown Nashville hotel. 400 attendees, regional press, state legislators, climate investors from across the South. The kind of room that smelled like purpose and money in equal measure. Marcus and I arrived together. He wore a navy suit, I wore the midnight blue dress, and carried a small clutch just large enough for my phone and 3 folded pages. The room knew Marcus. People crossed the floor to shake his hand. They kissed my cheek and said, "You must be Reyna. He talks about you constantly." I meant every word I said back. Across the room, pressed near the far wall at a back table, my mother, in a dress working hard to look like something more. Vanessa, who had apparently driven 4 hours from Portland, that distance was manageable now. Aunt Carol, Uncle Ray staring at his phone, my father with his hands folded in his lap. Derek had a business card holder on the table like a man working a trade show. They were scanning the room for Marcus Webb, the name on the program, the face from the magazine, not realizing I was already 20 feet away watching them search. The MC stepped to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speaker, founder of WebBridge Capital and recipient of this year's Tennessee Climate Leadership Award, Marcus Webb." Marcus stood. I stood with him. 400 people applauded. At the back table, my mother's hand froze halfway to her water glass. Marcus spoke for 12 minutes, warm, precise, and genuinely funny in the way of people who don't need applause to feel comfortable. He talked about the gap between climate intention and climate action. He made the room laugh twice and go quiet once. Then he stopped. He looked directly at me. "I want to close by thanking the person who taught me, by example, that integrity isn't a strategy. It's a choice you make every single day, especially when no one powerful is watching. My wife, Reyna." The spotlight found me. I stood. The room rose. At the back table, my mother had gone the color of the tablecloth. Vanessa gripped the chair arm. My father stared down at the table the way he had stared at his hands at every dinner where he could have spoken and chose not to. After the speech, I watched my mother move. She stood, smoothed her dress, reconstructed the warm public smile she deployed like a tool, and crossed the room with Vanessa trailing behind her. "Reyna!" Arms open wide. "Oh my goodness, look at you! We're so proud!" "Hi, Mom." I didn't move. "Interesting seeing you here." Portland to Nashville in a day, but 40 minutes to Clearwater Farm in April was too far? The smile fractured. That's not, we're here to support you. You told Vanessa not to make a big deal about my farm thing. My voice stayed even. You told her I'd be fine, that it was just a small ceremony. I held her gaze. I have the text. The three people nearest us had stopped moving. My mother recovered fast. She always did. This isn't the place, Reyna. I know. The place was Clearwater Farm, April 12th, 40 minutes from your house. Derek stepped forward, voice low and urgent. Reyna, I submitted a serious project to WebBridge and I deserve a real conversation, not to be shut out because of some family drama. I opened my clutch and took out a folded page. This is the email you sent Marcus's fund, I said, holding it out to him, where you mentioned that your cousin was his wife and asked for that to be considered. I kept my voice calm. You wanted to use my name as currency after spending years treating me like I wasn't even in the room. Derek took the paper, said nothing. I turned back to my mother, took out a second page. And this is the text you sent Vanessa, the one she accidentally forwarded. Don't make a big deal about Reyna's farm thing. She'll be fine. She always is. I held it steady. That's why nobody came. Not distance, not schedules. You told them not to. My mother's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Vanessa's eyes were filling. Reyna, you're humiliating everyone. No, I said. I looked at my sister. You humiliated me. You flew to Portland for a ribbon cutting. You drove 4 hours to be in this room tonight. You couldn't drive 40 minutes to my wedding. I paused. I clapped for you that day in Portland. I meant it. The group around us had grown. A Nashville Business Chronicle journalist stood 12 feet to my left. Silence. You didn't come to my wedding because it wasn't worth your time, I said. You're here tonight because my husband is worth your investment. I know the difference between those two things, and now so does everyone in this room. Derek dropped his voice to urgent. This is business, Reyna. Don't let personal feelings ruin a deal worth millions. Marcus stepped forward, 5 feet behind me the whole time, watching, waiting. His voice was boardroom calm, the kind that makes powerful men go quiet. The WebBridge team reviewed your pitch twice, Mr. Castillo. The project has structural problems that a personal connection can't fix. The decision was made on the numbers. Derek stared. His mouth opened. Nothing. My mother reached for my hand. Her fingers closed around mine. Reyna, please, I'm your mother. You can't do this to family. I pulled my hand back gently, the way you set something down when you've been holding it too long. You chose which family events to show up for. I'm just respecting the choices you already made. My father hadn't spoken a word. He stood slightly apart from the group, hands in his jacket pockets, looking somewhere past my shoulder. Then finally, Reyna, his voice was rough. I'm sorry. I should have been there. I looked at him, one honest second. I wanted to believe him completely. I know, Dad, I said quietly. But sorry 31 days late at a summit isn't sorry, it's recalculation. I turned around, took Marcus's arm and walked back to the main table where Constance sat waiting, her smile small, warm, and entirely real. Behind me, Gloria Castillo stood in the middle of 400 people and could not find a single word. The rest of the evening had a temperature to it, cold radiating from the back table, warm everywhere else. The Nashville Business Chronicle journalist didn't write about the confrontation. 3 weeks later, she published a profile, From Research Bench to Green Economy, WebBridge's Power Couple Reshaping Climate Philanthropy. It mentioned me not as Marcus's wife, but as Reyna Castillo Walsh, environmental researcher turned strategy consultant, who had signed a contract with the Henderson Gorge Conservancy Initiative, the largest project of my career, earned entirely on the strength of my portfolio. My family read every word. I know because my cousin Bree texted Deb, the whole family is passing it around. Your girl is really something. I had already left the group chat. The dominoes fell the way they always do when a structure was never built on anything solid. Derek failed to secure alternative funding for his hotel project. The LLC dissolved quietly by fall. My mother closed the Brentwood location permanently. The Franklin shop stayed open but reduced hours. Her social circle, the committee memberships, the country club adjacent friendships, shifted quietly the way it does when a person's stock falls and nobody announces it. My father lost two more consulting clients. He sent a letter through Deb in October. It didn't ask for money or access. It said, "I was never a brave man, Reyna. I stood next to your mother's choices for 30 years because it was easier than standing up. I'm not asking you to forgive that. I just need you to know that I know." I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. In August, Vanessa called Deb's number because she didn't have mine. She didn't ask about Marcus. She said, "Tell Reyna I'm sorry. Not about the business stuff. About the wedding. About all of it. I knew what Mom was doing and I didn't say anything. I'm ashamed of that." Deb told me word for word. I sat with it a long time. 3 weeks after the summit, I sat at my desk and wrote letters, one for each of them, by hand. Deb reviewed the drafts and softened two lines that crossed from honest into cruel. What remained was clean. I'm not writing this in anger. I'm writing it in clarity. For 33 years, I made myself smaller and quieter and more convenient, hoping one day it would register. It never did. You flew to Portland for a ribbon cutting. You couldn't drive 40 minutes for my wedding? You found my husband in 31 days, but you never found me in 33 years. I wish you well. I genuinely do, but I won't be available anymore. Not for dinners, not for holidays, not for business proposals or investment pitches. This isn't punishment. This is simply me respecting my own life the way you never did. Don't knock on a door I've finally closed. 5 copies, certified mail, return receipt, tracking numbers saved. Then I changed my number, blocked every account, made Deb my sole emergency contact. Marcus held me on the porch that evening, Nashville, early summer. The yard was green and loud with crickets. I breathed in fully and deeply. For the first time in 33 years, I wasn't waiting for anyone to show up. The quiet that followed wasn't emptiness. It was the sound of something ending that should have ended a long time ago. 6 months later, here's where things stand. Marcus and I are building something real. He still drives a muddy truck on weekends. My consulting practice is growing in ways I didn't plan but am not surprised by. The Conservation Initiative rebranding launched in October. My name was in 3 national publications, as the designer, as the researcher, as myself. I converted the second bedroom of our bungalow into a proper studio. Good light, a standing desk, field guides and design books mixed together on the same shelf without apology. Above the desk, I hung a framed photo I took on my phone the morning after the summit. The empty back table, 4 water glasses still full, the program face down on a chair, taken before the hotel crew cleared the room. Not a trophy, a reminder of what it looks like when people show up for the wrong reasons. Deb came to visit in November. She brought a card that had arrived through her address, Vanessa's handwriting on the envelope. Inside, a note card with a pressed flower taped to it. "Reyna, I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, but I want you to know I've been thinking about all of it. The wedding, the years before it, everything I didn't say when I should have. I'm not the same person I was. I'm trying not to be. If there's ever a day that you want to try, I'll be here. No conditions. V." I held it for a while. I set it on the studio shelf next to a photo of Deb and I at graduation and a small river rock from Radnor Lake, the trail where Marcus proposed. I didn't call, but I didn't put it away. I'm sitting on the front porch as I tell you this. East Nashville in late autumn. The maples have gone amber. The street is quiet. The bungalow behind me smells like coffee and whatever Marcus is making in the kitchen. My phone is on the chair beside me. The contact list is short now. Marcus, Constance, Deb, my work team, a few college friends who never needed me to be anything other than what I was. It's the quietest my phone has ever been, and I don't miss the noise. My mother was right about one thing. My wedding wasn't like Vanessa's grand opening. Vanessa's was a celebration of how things looked. Mine was a promise about how things would actually be. And the only people who needed to witness it were the ones who showed up. Marcus came out with 2 mugs and sat beside me without asking what I was thinking about. That's the thing about people who actually show up. They don't announce it. They don't make a production of their arrival. They're just there, consistently, in the ordinary moments and the hard ones and the quiet ones in between. I've been thinking about what it means to leave a door unlocked without opening it, the difference between forgiveness and access, how a boundary isn't a wall, it's a gate with a lock, and only I hold the key. Vanessa might change, she was already trying. Or she might not. People crack open sometimes and seal right back up. You can't build your life around someone else's potential. I didn't close those doors because I stopped caring. I closed them because I finally started caring for myself. And some mornings on this porch, with good coffee and a notebook, and a man who has never once asked me to be smaller, that is more than enough. That is everything. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end of this story. It truly means a lot. If this story resonated with you, consider liking the video and subscribing, not because I asked, but because you want to hear more stories like this. I'm curious about something. Have you ever had a moment where someone tried to define who you were and you finally stood up and told your truth? Or have you ever had to walk away from people who refused to see your worth? Tell me in the comments. I read more of them than you might think. And wherever you're watching from tonight, remember this. You don't need anyone's permission to build a life that's truly yours. I'll see you in the next story.